Two little-known comic book titles get the big-budget treatment. When criminals band together to save a planet, results may vary. Comparing two films likely to have sequels by James Gunn, it's worth noting one of these movies won an Oscar. So it's Guardians of the Galaxy versus Academy Award winner Suicide Squad.
And the Oscar goes to... For Suicide Squad, Alessandro Bertolazzi, Giorgio Gregorini, and Christopher Nelson.
So that's it? What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
The heroes of Guardians of the Galaxy include Chris Pratt's Star-Lord, Zoe Saldana's Gamora, Dave Bautista's Drax the Destroyer, Bradley Cooper's Rocket Raccoon, and Vin Diesel's Groot, a team where each member has their own motives for doing what they're doing. Through most of the movie, for most of them, that motive is money.
4 billion units.
What? Holy shit.
But eventually they reach a point where they realize they have to choose whether to run and hide or protect the galaxy itself. It feels weird calling the team of Suicide Squad heroes, since the ads made a big deal about them being villains.
Don't forget, we're the bad guys.
But in this movie, they were all definitely the heroes. The cast of heroes is actually quite large. Let's see if I can remember all of them. We have Joel Kinnaman as Rick Flag, Will Smith as Deadshot, Matthew McConaughey as Randall Flag, Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn, Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang, Jay Hernandez as Diablo, Tim Curry as Darkness, Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaje as Killer Croc, Tom Hardy as Venom, Karen Fukuhara as Katana, Val Kilmer as Iceman, Adam Beach as Slipknot, Robert Downey Jr. as Black Adam, Donald Glover as White Adam, and Patrick Swayze as Dalton.
That guy at the end of the bar is fucking Dalton, man.
I'm sorry, fucking Dalton. They all band together because they have chips in their necks, and if they step out of line, the chips will be activated and Slipknot will die. Part of the problem is the overabundance of Suicide Squad's heroes. Maybe it's not as bad as I made it out to be, but they still have way more characters than they actually need in this movie. You could really trim down this movie if the only members of the team were Deadshot, Harley Quinn, Rick Flag, and El Diablo. It would require only minor rewrites to cut all the other characters out. No one else brings anything to the story. It's a credit to Jai Courtney that he's memorable in this movie. It's one of the only times I've actually seen him give a good performance in a movie. It's too bad it's wasted by being in Suicide Squad on a character that means nothing to the story in the end. All the characters in Guardians have some growth to them over the course of the movie, except possibly Drax, which is honestly part of the fun with his character. Just when you think he may be ready to move on and mature, he simply readjusts and continues being the same guy.
Your wife and child shall rest well, knowing that you have avenged them.
Yes. Of course, Ronan was only a puppet. It's really Thanos I need to kill.
In Suicide Squad, Diablo has a character arc no one else really does. Hell, how could you have time for other characters when you have fucking Dalton there? In case you can't tell, this is an easy point for Marvel.
It's just a metaphor, dude.
His people are completely literal. Metaphors are gonna go over his head.
Nothing goes over my head. My reflexes are too fast. I would catch it.
The most underwhelming part of Guardians of the Galaxy was the main villain, Ronan the Accuser. He gets a quick exposition dump of backstory.
Because I do not forgive your people for taking the life of my father, and his father before him. 1,000 years of war between us will not be forgotten.
And outside that, he's just an evil guy. His logic is a bit lacking. He's mad that his father was murdered, so therefore he wants to kill everyone on the planet.
What a bastard. And he was a vegetarian and a painter, so he must have been going, I can't get the fucking trees. Damn, I will kill everyone in the world!
Seems like an extreme overreaction. Lee Pace does a fine job with what he has, which honestly isn't that much.
I think that's funny, because he was a mass-murdering fuckhead.
Then we look at the Enchantress in Suicide Squad. Quite frankly, she is just perplexing. She's an archaeologist named June Moon who finds an artifact that turns her into an all-powerful being. Amanda Waller gets a hold of her heart, allowing her the ability to control the all-powerful being. But the Enchantress was able to turn a random person into her brother. Then she could use her brother's heart to get out of Waller's control. Then she attempts to destroy the world because reasons. Ronan is weak, but the Enchantress is beyond baffling. Point for Marvel.
Master, you cannot. Thanos is the most powerful being in the universe.
Not anymore.
In Guardians of the Galaxy, we get Michael Rooker as Yondu, Karen Gillan as Nebula, John C. Reilly as Corman Day, Jimon Houston as Korath, Glenn Close as Nova Prime, and Benicio del Toro as the Collector. Glenn Close feels a bit wasted, not that she does a poor job, just it's such a minor role, but overall everyone is memorable and clearly has a purpose in the narrative. In Suicide Squad, we have Viola Davis's Amanda Waller, Jared Leto's Joker, Ike Barinholtz as Griggs, Scott Eastwood as Edwards, David Harbour as Dexter Tullivar, Jim Parrack as Frost, and Common as Monster T. Characters so memorable, you probably didn't notice I switched around the faces of the last few. It's probably a bit unfair to throw those last 5 in with Suicide Squad. They are little more than glorified extras. If I include those 5, I should probably throw in Laura Haddock's Meredith Quill, Peter Serafinowicz' Denarian Saul, and Josh Brolin's Thanos. Easier to leave them out. Their roles are all so very minor. That leaves Suicide Squad with only 2 real supporting characters, and considering the huge cast of heroes, that's probably a smart move. Unfortunately, both these 2 supporting characters are misused. Let's start with the obvious one to go after.
What the hell is that?
Jared Leto's Joker. Do I think he's bad? I'll be controversial and say no. Given the right script, I could see this Joker working well. Does he work well here? No, not at all. Despite the fact that I don't think he's terrible, he is easily the worst feature film Joker ever presented. Granted, all the other Jokers have worked well in their film, while Leto's Joker does not, at all. Here's perhaps the most unforgivable sin about Leto's Joker. They made a huge deal about Joker being in the movie, and even gave Leto second billing behind Will Smith in the promotional material. And looking at the promotional material, the assumption was that Joker would be the main villain of the movie.
Not good.
After all, he is someone who could easily devise a clever plot that the Suicide Squad would have to stop. In the animated film Batman: Assault on Arkham, the Joker placed bombs that the Suicide Squad was sending to Arkham to get information on from him. That's specifically why Harley Quinn is on Task Force X in that movie, because they think she'll have an easier time getting information from the Joker than the average member of the team. But Suicide Squad shoves Joker in like some sort of afterthought. If you cut most of the Joker stuff out of this movie, it would still tell the exact same story. Joker is a giant misfire here, and that's half your significant supporting characters. Next, we have Amanda Waller. She's not as misused as Leto's Joker, to be sure, but she is absolutely misused. First, I want to talk briefly about the DCEU as a whole. When the MCU was first forming, they had 2 characters that appeared in most of Phase 1. Those were Nick Fury and Agent Coulson. The inclusion of these characters in the movies gave the universe a sense of cohesion that helped it along. It might seem like a stretch to have movies about a Norse god and a billionaire that make a supersuit in the same universe, but put Nick Fury and Agent Coulson in, even if it's post-credit scenes, and it gives the audience that suspension of disbelief that makes the Avengers feel all that much more likely when it came around.
The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people. See if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles that we never could.
The DCEU has no characters like this. The closest you get is Batman, but Batman is such a major player and appears in so few films. Iron Man actually gets more screen time with the 2 solo movies and a cameo in The Incredible Hulk before the Avengers than Batman does before Justice League. So while they're planning out Justice League, why not make sure to get that Aquaman movie out before Justice League and give Amanda Waller some cameos throughout? Even if they're just post-credit scenes, Amanda Waller can function exactly like Nick Fury did in the MCU, with a huge difference. While Fury may be involved with shady stuff, he does have good intentions. Waller is not so honorable. Subtle character, faithful changes like that could have given the DCEU more cohesion and also set it apart from Marvel. Perhaps up a mystery asking what Waller is up to, tracking down information on future Justice League members. In short, it's a massive missed opportunity. I did digress quite a bit there, but not only is Waller a missed opportunity in the DCEU, she's a missed opportunity in Suicide Squad as well. If this movie was properly constructed, she should get the villain credit. The entire planet was almost destroyed because she attempted to get numerous superpowered beings under her control, and one ended up being too powerful for her to control, and the movie completely glosses over this fact. The movie shows her killing her own men, and in the larger narrative, it means absolutely nothing. No one cares that she's a villain. So it boils down to both the Suicide Squad supporting characters not being the villains that they should have been. Without even delving into the Guardians of the Galaxy supporting characters, DC is already at disadvantage. In Guardians, we have Yondu and Nebula, who both show possible paths that Star-Lord and Gamora could take respectively. While neither Yondu and Nebula are the worst people, they both have their issues that show our heroes that there could be a better way. As for Day, Korath, Nova Prime, and the Collector, they are all characters that exist merely to progress the story to necessary points. But the actors make all the difference. The performance of each actor makes each character profoundly memorable, with a special shout out to Riley. Yes, Marvel definitely ggets this point.
He says that he's an a-hole, but he's not 100% a dick.
Do you believe him?
I don't know that I believe anyone's 100% a dick, ma'am.
Guardians of the Galaxy sees this group of criminals meeting, of course, in prison, where they coordinate a prison break with the hopes of making a major heist. When it's discovered that the object at the center of the heist is an ultra-powerful Infinity Stone, and that stone is stolen by Ronan, who threatens the entire galaxy, the criminals must band together to save the galaxy, because that's where all their stuff is.
What are you, some saint all of a sudden? What has the galaxy ever done for you? Why would you want to save it?
Because I'm one of the idiots who lives in it!
Maybe it's not quite that simple, but overall, the story is pretty streamlined, giving a chance for characters to grow and develop, making their heroic turn completely believable. On the other hand, we have Suicide Squad, and holy sweet good God, I now realize I have to explain the story here, which is a complete mess. So Amanda Waller decides to put together a group of people to fight the next Superman-level threat, if the next Superman-level threat turns out to be evil. To fight this evil Superman, she enlists the likes of a guy who's good with a gun and a girl with a baseball bat. One of the people she enlists is the Enchantress, who Waller can control because she has the Enchantress's heart. However, the Enchantress makes a run for it and makes a random guy her brother, and is apparently able to share his heart. Why didn't she do this a while ago? The movie doesn't feel the need to answer these questions and decides to have the Enchantress make a skybeam and zombify the local population of Midway City. In response, Waller gets the remaining members of Task Force X to fix this possibly world-destroying event. One is a rather simple story that allows for characters to flourish, while the other has a couple of good characters, but is just a choppy mess that even includes a twist that is perhaps the most obvious, predictable twist of all time. It was so obvious it didn't even occur to me it was a twist until they presented it like one. Add to it the awful editing of Suicide Squad. It introduces us to Deadshot, then Harley Quinn, then a title card. Then it introduces us to Deadshot and Harley Quinn again. Who in their right mind thought that would be a good way to edit a movie that already would be introduction heavy? Guardians is a well put together, well scripted movie where Suicide Squad is a complete mess. Point for Marvel.
That's a fake laugh.
It's real!
Action proves to be an interesting category in this comparison. Neither movie would have what I call truly amazing action scenes, but at the same time, neither is bad in the action department. They both work and convey their respective stories reasonably well. I would argue that Suicide Squad has some serious editing issues with some of the action, but it is all coherent enough. One thing that does differentiate the action in these movies is the pauses. Many action scenes will have these moments that allow the audience a chance to catch their breath.
I'm gonna enjoy watching you die, Mr. Anderson.
When Suicide Squad does it, it feels out of place, like the character just takes a moment out to talk.
Uh-oh. Sorry.
whereas in Guardians, it's usually for a joke. The most famously criticized is when Peter challenges Ronan to a dance-off.
Child, things are gonna get easier. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Let's put it together.
What are you doing?
Dance off, bro. Me and you.
Time for me to make another controversial statement. I like the dance-off beat. Not only is it humorous, it feels genuine. It's not like Ronan is literally defeated by the dance-off. It's a distraction so Rocket can rebuild the gun.
What are you doing?
I'm distracting you big turd blossom.
And Peter, who already stated his love of Footloose, would naturally go to such a silly distraction. And it's not unbelievable that would work, because if some jackass just decides to dance in front of you, you'd probably freeze in your steps for a few moments too. Both movies could be stronger in their action, but Guardians knows how to make the action flow right, while Suicide Squad just feels like it pauses for no reason and way too often. Point for Marvel.
Finger to the throat means death.
Metaphor.
Sorta.
Both movies are fine in the special effects department overall. Guardians does a great job bringing Groot and Rocket to life with computer effects. The closest we get to anything like that in Suicide Squad is the Enchantress's brother. He probably has a name, I just don't care to look it up. I'll call him Chuck. Chuck is not a particularly great special effect by any stretch of the word, but a lot better than the later effects we see in the third act of Wonder Woman and throughout Justice League. So while Suicide Squad is better in the effects department than most of the other DCEU movies, it's still not quite as good as the effects in Guardians. Add to it the lighting. Guardians Volume 2 is actually a lot better in the color department. But still, Guardians has a way more pleasing palette than Suicide Squad. And you might argue that it's intentional that Suicide Squad is dark. I would counter by asking, is it intentional that it's so dark it's difficult for me to tell what's going on in many of the action scenes? Because if that's intentional, the guy who made that call is a moron. Of course, maybe it was necessary to cover up the lesser effects work. Well, that's just cheap. At the end of the day, Guardians at least has some color and is somewhat pleasant to look at. Suicide Squad is just dark and ugly. Christopher Nolan's Batman films were dark without looking murky. Suicide Squad doesn't have that. Point for Marvel.
Peter Quill, this is Denarian Saal of the Nova Corps. For the record, I advised against trusting you here.
They got my dick message!
Let's actually spend a few moments and listen to some sound design. Both are solid and get their points across, but overall Guardians definitely shows some creativity. But what about the scores? Guardians actually has a fairly awesome score. Not super memorable, but a hell of a lot more noteworthy than any of the score pieces in Suicide Squad. Of course, both these movies have one huge thing in common, and when I imply that they share it, I mean it works in Guardians, so Suicide Squad did a shit job of copying it. The licensed music. Guardians of the Galaxy has this fun 70s vibe, courtesy of a cassette tape that Peter's mother left him. Suicide Squad has this let's play the most literal song we can easily get a hold of, courtesy of Warner Brothers' willingness to pay for the music rights. Hey, they're in Louisiana, let's play House of the Rising Sun. Hey, it's Harley Quinn. Let's play You Don't Own Me because she's crazy.
You don't own me. I'm not just one of your many toys.
Hey, it's Amanda Waller. Let's play Sympathy for the Devil because she's secretly evil.
The world changed when Superman flew across the sky. And then it changed again when he didn't.
Hey, it's Harley Quinn again. Let's do Super Freak. hey, it's Captain Boomerang and he's an Australian stealing stuff, so let's do a song by an Australian band about doing bad things.
No honor among thieves, eh?
And that's all in the first 15 minutes. This shit just keeps going. Whereas all the songs in Guardians feel natural without being so goddamn on the nose. The songs in Suicide Squad frequently feel like they're interrupting or being forced in.
Okay, triangle, bitch. Study.
2 trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside.
While Guardians, it all works and enhances the experience. One has songs flowing while the other has songs intruding. Honestly, if you stuck both these soundtracks on random in a playlist and played them without context, I'd probably enjoy Suicide Squad more. But context is everything in movies. Guardians works with its soundtrack. Suicide Squad has a soundtrack as an afterthought. Point for Marvel. Once again, it's a clean sweep for Marvel. I was actually kind of hopeful that Suicide Squad might win something, just one thing, but looking at each of these categories, there isn't a single one of them where the Oscar-winning Suicide Squad is anywhere near as good as Guardians of the Galaxy. I will give it one thing. Most will agree that the bar scene is the best part of Suicide Squad. I think it's fair to even say it's better than the equivalent scene in Guardians of the Galaxy, but it's not enough, because nothing leading up to the bar scene is worth a damn. It means the emotion we get from that scene feels hollow and unearned. While the same scene in Guardians of the Galaxy isn't as good as a vacuum, so much leading to that scene was solid, meaning that the emotions coming out of that scene feel genuine. So once again, it's a win for Marvel. There's another reason why I wanted to compare these two movies, because we are perhaps seeing a turning point between these two franchises. Disney fired James Gunn for reasons that have been discussed ad nauseum in other videos that you can check out. I'll summarize as quickly as I possibly can. A right-wing douchebag who didn't like how Gunn attacked Donald Trump decided to send Disney some of Gunn's old tweets from when he was with Troma Films. These tweets are distasteful, which is why Gunn apologized for them half a decade ago. None of Gunn's tweets since that time have contained such content. Add to it the reasons for the tweets was to stir up controversy because that was pretty much Troma Films' goal as a film company. It's their way of getting attention. Disney fired Gunn within hours of seeing these old tweets. That was longer than I wanted, but this whole thing is beyond stupid. Not only are we very likely never to see a proper Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, but also Warner Brothers, in one of their recent, very few actual smart moves with their DC properties, appear to be trying to get Gunn to sign up for Suicide Squad 2. While Marvel still has an impressive amount of talent with the Russo brothers, Ryan Coogler, and rumors that Jon Favreau and Joss Whedon are interested in working for Marvel again, Marvel will do fine. But this is still a blow. Everyone has skeletons in their closet, and if some simple tweets could get you fired, it will make people less interested in working for Marvel. On the other side, if DC can get Gunn, perhaps to help revamp their universe, it could become a welcoming place for talent that Marvel might have gotten otherwise. I'm not saying anything as drastic as Marvel will now suck and DC will be good, but at some point, the MCU Goliath will fall. That is a fact. And at some point, if Warner Brothers keeps working towards the DCEU, it has to sometimes stop sucking, doesn't it?
It's the fact that I think you're... Are you pissing? Are you urinating right now? You're making the face that you make when you urinate. Is he pissing?
I'm on it.
There you go. It's open there. If you want to be a contract killer, you gotta handle a mop before you handle a gun.
Hey, if you like this video, please make sure to hit that like button and go ahead and subscribe. That helps me out a lot. And if you really love this video, consider visiting my Patreon page.